Thank you for tuning in today on this Friday. We want to welcome you to the National Veterans Radio Show. My name is Shelley Harrison, and I'm your host. And we're so happy that you're here today. We want you to subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of wonderful guests, and today we have a phenomenal guest, and we're also going to have a second episode with our executive director. Like I had mentioned, my name is Shelley Harrison, and I want to give a shout out to our folks behind the scenes. We have Jimmy Odong, who is our producer of the show. I have my co-host, who you'll see here on some Fridays, Dolly Rivera. So hi, Dolly. I hope you're doing great. And of course, our executive director, Joseph Molina. So we want to give him a big shout out for all of the support and all of the things that he's bringing to the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And here we talk with heroes in action, doing great work all over the country. Today, we have a guest who is from the Air Force, and he served for 6.5 years, and you'll meet him in just a moment. But we want to welcome all of our audience from all of the different platforms that we're on: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of the platforms out there for podcasting. Speaking of podcasts, we do have actually a workshop that's coming up, and I'll be teaching it. It's going to be how to start your own podcast show. And it's hosted and delivered by the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. It's a free workshop, only an hour. So if you want to do something like this and have your own podcast show, you'll want to join us, because it's going to be a very insightful, hands-on kind of a workshop. And I know that we'll have the link available. So stay tuned for that. There's a QR code for that. So we hope we see you on June 13th. It's at 2:30 to 3:30. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest, our first guest. And Dante McGoy, as I mentioned, he was in the Air Force for 6.5 years. He served, and he is a family man, entrepreneur, and a service-disabled veteran. He owns a franchise consulting firm and is in the process of acquiring other businesses. His mission is to establish the largest minority certified logistics firm in the United States. So please help me welcome Dante. Hi, Dante. How are you?
Hey, Shelley, I'm doing well. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing great today.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? It's great to meet you. And, I have some questions that we're going to run through. And, I definitely want to have our audience know who you are and, just the work that you've done with the military. And first off, we want to thank you for your service. And we salute you, because we know that it's something that is, you're dedicated to just the United States and serving. So we appreciate that. But I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and also about your military experience.
Certainly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was truly a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to serve. I was truly grateful to serve. So a little about myself. As you mentioned, I am a family man. I enjoy, spending time with my family and traveling, and serving in the Air Force has made such a huge impact in my life, and still to this day, having separated in 2012, I'm still, benefiting from serving in the Air Force and just the things that I was able to do and see, and the experiences that I had. So, I truly valued that time in my life, that chapter in my life. Yeah.
I bet. And do you have maybe a special, story that you had that you can remember, while you were serving?
Yeah, certainly. I have so many. I joined the Air Force right out of high school.
No.
I had to see all my friends, at that time they went to college, but, I had an example of serving in the Air Force, what that looked like. I come from military parents. Both my parents were senior NCOs in the Air Force.
Wow, that's admirable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, they really laid the foundation and gave me the blueprint of what it looked like to serve, and what that outcome, how it mold you into this person with the skill sets and
Yeah.
the experiences that we had. So, serving in the military, I was able to travel throughout Europe and
Wow.
also Aliyah Salim, Kuwait. Originally, I'm from Delaware, where I spent a good bit of my childhood in Delaware. I spent a little
Mhm.
time in the Air Force as well before going off to basic training.
Mm.
But after basic training and my tech school, as we call it in the Air Force, where you learn your job, I was a police officer. So I spent time
Oh,
at Lackland Air Force Base for a few months where I did basic training in tech school. But my first duty station was Aviano, Italy, where I served
oh,
3 years in Italy. And so that's where I really got
gosh,
to
what a
travel.
great experience. Yeah.
It truly was. It truly was.
Yeah.
Got to travel all throughout Europe, and we worked hard, but we played hard. It was a very critical mission there.
Mhm.
So, I worked in the command centers. I had one of the most important jobs on the base where I would manage and raise the vaults that held weapons underground.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so I would
Big responsibility.
very.
Yeah.
I
Very big responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, we had a lot of exercises, and so that's really, I got my taste of dispatching police units and
Yeah.
setting up perimeters and arming the alarms that protected these passes that held F-16 jets as well
Oh
as
my gosh.
ground. And so
Wow.
it was really, really a phenomenal experience. And then after serving in Aviano, coming back stateside, I did presidential security for Air Force One under President Obama's
My
administration.
good oh, fantastic. Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It
that's
was truly,
incredible.
truly, truly an amazing experience. I obtained my top secret SCI clearance. I got to see the president and his family on the
Oh
flight.
my gosh. That would be exciting.
It was
Yeah,
very exciting. It was
yeah.
an honor to have that, to take on that position there. So I was grateful to have been accepted for both of those roles. And so
Gosh.
yeah, it was a phenomenal
Yeah.
experience.
Well, we're happy to hear that, and again, we salute you and we appreciate your service. And fast forward, because you were out of the service in 2012, and here you are. You have your own company, and let's talk about that a little bit. You have a company, and why don't you share with us a little bit about what kind of what you do and how you serve now?
Yeah, certainly, certainly. So,
Yeah.
um, when I got out the military, I worked for a few government agencies before starting my company with my wife.
Mm.
Um,
Oh.
this company is still in business today, but I did when I separated from the military in 2012. I worked for Department of Army for a
Mhm.
little while, and then I worked for Social Security Administration. Uh,
Oh.
and at that agency, I was able to fill a veteran slot, so that veteran status really helped for me to um, get hired in that role. But
Yeah.
once while working at Social Security, it made sense to go ahead and start looking for additional streams, right? And so, it started looking at laundromats and dry cleaners and things like that. Long story short, it led me to speaking with the franchise consultant that represented a franchise on a website
Mhm.
where they buy and sell businesses. And
Yeah.
he explained to me what he did, and it made all the sense in the world for me to bootstrap it. My wife and we saved up our investment in over 8 months, and we made our
Oh,
investment. We
gosh.
are a part of one of the largest franchise consulting networks in the nation. And our company is called DNT Franchise Consulting. Uh,
Mhm.
and so, our website, dtfranchiseconsulting.com, we represent and work with over 700 franchises across 30 industries.
Wow.
And we assist our clients in finding the perfect franchise for their particular situation at no cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we're compensated by our franchise partners for bringing them qualified candidates to invest
Yeah.
in their brands. Yeah.
That's quite a network too that you're part of. And, what do you enjoy doing most about this, Dante? The work that you're doing and how both you and your wife, so that's wonderful that you and your wife are able to do this together. But what do you enjoy most about this kind of work?
I franchise consulting was my first introduction to a sales role, right? So
Mhm.
being, in the military and having the previous jobs that I've had, It's really something that, I've always learned, or I've come across things where it's like people kind of shy away from salesmen or salespeople. But it's something that I find joy in when helping someone invest in an asset, something that's going to
Yeah.
help not only the community, whatever franchise they invest in, but it's going to help their family. It's going to help secure, even more assets and leaving things for their children and what have you. So it's
Yeah.
really something that I find great joy in being able to do is helping people identify that perfect franchise or business opportunity for their particular situation. It's,
Yeah. Well,
it's
and there are a lot of franchises out there. So, can you share a story with us on, maybe a company that you worked with and help them get started? Can you share a story?
Yeah, certainly I can. I've closed franchises. I've brought franchisees to franchisors. Some are spa franchises, commercial loan brokerage, business opportunities, and senior care homes. So senior services. So these are brands that I've worked with, like Hand and Stone Facial and Spa,
Oh,
Facial and Med Spa, Nurse Next Door, and Global Finance training program, just to name a few. I've also worked with a brand called Ben's Chili Bowl,
oh,
where they're
yeah.
known as one of the oldest minority franchises in the United States, and so they've been around for about 65 years, and so I've assisted them with uh, being able to scale on a national level. They've been
Mhm.
with the locations that they've had for quite some time. So
Oh my gosh.
we assist brands, personal brands, if they're interested in being converted into a franchise, but also
Mhm.
uh, those franchises that are ready to grow and scale. And so franchise development. So, it's
Yeah.
not, it's a wide range of services when it comes to franchising and all of the services that we provide. We're also connected to funding groups that specialize in franchise funding,
Yeah.
add to our clients, liquid capital, and give them even more opportunities and more options to look at and possibly invest in.
That's a great resource. And I know we have a LinkedIn question coming in. What is the easiest franchise or the lowest cost to start with?
Lowest cost, we normally say it's going to be somewhere around 10 to 15,000. 10 to
Yeah.
15,000 will get you something like a home-based franchise.
Mhm.
One that comes to mind is where you can become your own travel agency. Uh,
Oh, that
and
might be fun.
can run it from the comfort of your home, and you're helping people, obviously book flights and trips and resorts and hotels and things of that nature. So it's fairly on
Yeah.
the lower side. Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah, and that's a great way to get started with, even if somebody doesn't know really what they want to do, so they can come to you. Are they able to get kind of a consultation,
Absolutely.
a free consultation so they can better kind of figure out what they want to do?
Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
absolutely right. They get a free consultation. And really, when we work with our clients, we're working with them up until the very end, until they sign their franchise agreement and they
Yeah,
make their
I would
investment.
think so.
Yeah, and so
Mhm.
our services for our clients are free, and we're able to get a referral fee from the franchisors once
Mm.
deals have closed. So it does not cost our clients. If we don't find something, if our clients are like, "Hey, it's just not a good time. We've spent some time together and presented a few
Yeah.
options." It doesn't cost our clients. Not until we identify that perfect opportunity and they feel it's a good fit as well, and they
Yeah.
move forward.
That's when the real work starts, and, the all of the legal ramifications and everything, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah. So that is a great resource, and this is available on a national level,
Yes, it is,
the
and
services. Okay.
international. Yes,
And international. Oh my
yes.
goodness. Yeah, I would imagine international companies, they're far different than here in the States.
Well, some of these franchise brands are international. They have international
Oh,
franchisees. Yeah, they have
gosh.
franchisees in other countries, and so
Yeah, that's, probably true.
yeah, absolutely. And if
Yeah.
if there are those that say may have an L1 or E2 visa, and they're
Mhm.
looking to invest stateside into, an opportunity and provide jobs for U.S. citizens. We assist clients in that manner as well. We're connected to, immigration attorneys, and so we can assist them throughout that process of, getting their package together to make their investment stateside also.
So it's pretty comprehensive the way that the approach is. And I would imagine with a franchise, because now, do people typically buy one franchise or do they do multiple franchises with you?
It really depends. There are those that just focus on a single unit. They want to see
Mhm.
how it works out first. And then you have those that are pretty experienced in when it comes to investing in franchises. They may be an area developer, or maybe where they own several franchises,
Yeah.
or multi-unit, a multi-pack, two or
Mhm.
three franchises, or they may be a master franchisee, where they are over an entire state and they're pretty much partnered with the franchisor. And so they have
Wow.
franchisees, single, units, or even multi-units that operate under their territory. And so, it really is, depending on that person and their level of experience and their investment appetite.
Exactly, the investment appetite, because that would be the most important thing, is how much do they have to invest that they want to do this. Well, Dante, we're coming towards the end of this segment. I have one last question for you. Well, two actually. What helpful information can you give veterans who are no longer serving? Maybe if you could take a couple of, maybe 30 seconds to kind of answer that. And then we want to know how people can reach you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what I would suggest, really, and it's no different from me speaking with clients, but when it comes to veterans, having been in that position and then getting out, and you're kind of forced to adapt to civilian life. Kind of ask yourself, what makes you, what are you passionate about? What is something that's fulfilling? And I'd
Yeah.
say if you could group that with business ownership, possibly a franchise, it
Mhm.
really, be something that could turn out to be something really, really great for you and your family. Franchises, they love veterans. They love veterans because
Yeah,
we
which
know
is
how to,
fantastic.
yeah, we understand systems and processes, and we know
Mhm.
how to, implement the systems and processes that are already there. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel. And,
Yeah.
and so that's what they can appreciate with a really great ideal candidate for a franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do they reach you? How do they reach you, Dante?
So they can reach me. Again, the website is dtfranchiseconsulting.com. And there's a contact page on there. You'll also be able to see the phone number. The phone number is also 678-814-4373.
Mhm.
And my email, Dante@dtfranchiseconsulting.com. And also on LinkedIn as well. So my first.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great platform. And the phone number goes directly to you?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dante, thank you so much for being our guest today. We really appreciate you being here, and we wish you a great, just much success with what you're doing, you and your wife.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your service and all that you've done for our country. So thank you again, and for serving the president. So the former president, Mr.
It was
Obama.
really,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. So have a wonderful weekend, and thank you again, Dante. And then for the show, we have our next segment, and we're going to go to that in just a moment here. So we'll see you in just a moment. All right, and welcome back. We actually are going to bring on, I believe, Joseph Molina, and we have another gentleman, Gary, who's going to be joining us. And I think that's going to be here in just a moment. There we go. And I want to welcome Joe Molina, our executive director of the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And then we also have Gary here, who has I believe he's going to have his own segment here shortly, going forward with the National Veterans Chamber. So welcome, gentlemen.
It's good to be here. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. And Gary, can we have you kind of share a little bit about, the what you're working on and how your role is going to be on the show?
Well, thank you. I've been working with veterans over the last 7 years, and as a contractor, I conduct transitional workshops at various military installations throughout not only California but good part of the country.
Yeah.
And the transition workshops are designed to help um, prepare veterans that are getting out of the service to plan for their civilian careers. And so I've been, like I said, I've been doing this for the last 7 years. I've had close to 5,000 veterans go through my workshops.
That's
And so
phenomenal.
what I was planning to talk about today is that transition in and of itself is not easy. It's challenging.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of discuss some of the challenges that veterans have when they get out of the military.
Well, let's go right into that. Yeah, please share.
Yes, please do.
Well, there are many. I have what I call my top 10, and this is based upon, again, the work I've been doing. But the first challenge they have is relating to people who do not know or understand what military personnel have experienced.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Less than 1% of our country has served in the military.
Ah,
And so their perception of military veterans is based upon what they hear, what they see, which movies, or for example,
mhm.
and a lot of it's not accurate. And so, it's important, I believe, for veterans to understand that, not to be on the defensive or anything like that, but they have to be able to, in essence, embrace their whole different culture than what they're used to,
Yeah.
and and prepare for that.
Yeah, and I would imagine that there are a lot of stories that come from, the people that take your workshops. And do you find that a lot of them are easy or able to transition very easily once they've had your workshop and they kind of go through the process with you?
Well, once I go through my workshop, yes, I do.
Yeah.
In general, we try to survey veterans on a regular basis, and I think our last survey that was conducted about 2017.
Mhm.
And during that time, veterans identified and indicated that transition was harder than expected. And that was roughly about 75% of the veterans that we surveyed indicated it was more challenging than they initially expected. And the other thing we found out was that on average, if a veteran has a job at the day of separation, on average, about 45% leave that job in the first year,
Oh, wow.
which is a very high
That is
percentage.
a high percentage. Yeah.
And there are a lot of reasons for that. Is number one, they were not, you might say, prepared themselves for the civilian culture,
Mhm.
or maybe they accepted a job initially and it wasn't a good fit for them. They just felt like the pressure of getting a job, and unfortunately, they passed up other opportunities that might have been a bigger fit. One of the big things is being able to acclimate to a company's culture,
Mm.
which is much different than in the military.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I know Joe's shaking his head. Yeah, I think he has a question.
Well, yes, and I totally, and that's one of the reasons why we have Gary on the show and creating this segment, because that's one of the reasons why the National Veterans Chamber was created, because of the challenges veterans have as they transition
Yeah.
out into the civilian world. And the question to me was always like, why is it that many of us, this, Gary's totally on point, many of us have that challenge. And even though we get out, and whether you have degrees, whether you have a job, what is it that makes a veteran feel unconnected to the communities when they move out of the service? And there is a lot of there is some research, there's some things done We have done our own evaluation and with third-party entities to find out what is it that makes a veteran um, feel shaken when they get out on the civilian. And one of the common denominators in all this is purpose. Right? The purpose in the military, when we served in the military, it was a choice to be in the military. So, and there was a purpose being in the military. And we learned the process and the systems like Dante was talking about earlier, and we got accustomed to that. But what we did in the military was not a job. We didn't have a job. We had a lifestyle. We had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So many veterans feel the same way. So when we transition into a civilian company, that purpose has shifted into something else. So understanding and becoming aware, acquainted with, or actually searching for the true purpose that individual is going to do is critical. So most veterans are not looking for a job. Most veterans are looking for a profession, a career, an identity where they can fit in, that we all can fit in. And that is an internal work that cannot be posted or exchanged by just something external. A paycheck is not going to do that. So the work that Gary does is critical to helping veterans understand that mindset, because it's a mindset first, action later. So the mindset of the transition veteran changes while taking Gary's core classes and stuff, then that veteran will be more equipped to identify the right fit. And maybe the right fit is something like what Dante was talking about earlier, is what is your passion, and turn that into an entrepreneurship. Or maybe it's a education passion, or maybe it's a career passion. But the veteran needs to know first, because in the veteran's mind, when we are in, there is no question. There is no doubt. I mean, we may not like everything. We may not like the push-ups. We may not like the drills. We may not like certain things. But the mindset is always the same. The identity is there. And that's right?
I call that a mission.
Correct.
Their mission. You know, a lot of veterans, most veterans join the military right out of high school, and or they're shortly thereafter. And so their whole environment is built around community, or they're on a mission. Everyone has a mission. And they know it, and they serve it, and they do it each and every day. But when they get out, that mission changes. And so that's where they, you know, as you mentioned, Joe, they have to find their mission, in essence, their passion for a new career. And I think it's a big change, where you go to work every day in the military, and there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of teamwork. And many times when they're out, they miss those. They miss that, in essence, a little bit more structure than normal, so that they can accomplish ultimately their mission. Mm-hmm. That's what I refer to it as, their mission.
Yes. Yeah. And so thank you, Gary, for that. And so I know we are approaching at the end of the show, but what would you suggest how this within your courses to help veterans who are transitioning find that mission, get that mindset change?
I think one of the tools that I use is Simon Sinek's Golden Circle.
Oh, gosh. I know that. I love it.
And it's all about finding your why. Mm-hmm. You know, you can tell people how you do your work and when you do it. But if you start with why you do it, then that it resonates with the other individual. So we focus on identifying their new why, their new mission. And that's probably about a 3-day process, 3-day or three classes that allow us to really come to grips and to understand their why in their new civilian career.
Mm, yeah. No, that's wonderful though. And thank you for the work that you're doing, Gary, for, for our veterans. And we're so happy to have you on the show. And do you have any last comments that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I think what I would just challenge the audience, whether if you're non-military, is to reach out more than anything else. When you meet military, reach out to them, but and make them feel more comfortable, you might say.
Yeah.
And if you're military out there, then it's all right to ask for help, and help in a way that more of a relationship than anything else.
Mhm.
But you've served our great country, and you deserve as much support and help that we can provide. So it's been an honor to be with you, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Gary. And thank you, Joe. And Joe, did you have any last comments that you'd like to make?
Just a real final comment. I'm working with Gary, and Gary's working with us into increasing the level in the participation of transition military into positions of leadership. Well, that's one of our goals, is to people who are transitioning into in the civilian market to go into position careers, or careers within a position of leadership, whether it's supervisors, managers, directors, even CEOs. And so I'm working, Gary and I are working together to make that possible, so everyone, as their transition, they can actually become civilian leader ready. Which that also applies to what Dante was talking about, because you can run a company and know all the accounting there is to know, all the marketing there is to know. But if you fail in leading your people, that business is going to flip, it's going to go upside down. So leading talent is critical for a business, is critical for someone who is moving on to a civilian market. So yeah, Gary and I are working on that. So we'll bring you up to date in a few more segments on how that's going to look like. But thank you, Shelley. I'll let you wrap up, and then.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Joe. Great information. And, Gary, continue to do the work that you're doing. We love to hear, the success and have you just really share what the, the work that you're doing and how it's supporting our military. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Joe, thank you for what you do.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today on the National Veterans Radio Show. My name is Shelley Harrison. I'm your host for this Friday. Go out and have a great weekend. Please tell a veteran, just do an act of kindness, or just share with them how much you appreciate them. We definitely want to support our military. So everyone have a great weekend. Subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.